Shout out to our sister Aisha. Yo, I'm
Oh
gonna tell you,
man,
I'm gonna tell you how dope Aisha is, man. Aisha, the people that follow Aisha love Aisha, right? So she wrote a post this morning about a conversation me and her had, and she tagged me in the post. And next thing I know, dog, I got like 100 new followers. I was like, hold up, why do people follow us? Because the
that
first
happened
one,
to me every time she tagged me.
yo, my phone was going off, and I said, "What the hell happened to my phone?" I was like, "Oh, each tagged me in a post." We were having a conversation this week, which kind of prompted me for the title of the show, which is about affordability of properties. Because I was telling her, I said, "Listen, I really feel like looking at the numbers of sales in this in the city that within the next 5 to 10 years, the average working class family
Ain't gonna
won't
be able
be
to
able
buy
to afford to buy a property in any neighborhood in the city. And I'm talking about the worst of the worst neighborhoods you wouldn't, some people wouldn't want to live in. I've seen people catch a body on a block and then see a sale the next week for 200 racks. Like, so the price, and I know some people probably in California, like, so what? That's 200,000. But listen, in Philly, the average family won't be able to afford a house soon.
the
Average
one thing
working class family.
the one thing about Philly is people either get into it or they flat broke. It ain't like it's no really in betweens. Like, there's no in betweens in the city really. Like what they doing is pushing the in between people out. They have very low cost housing like the projects and stuff like that, and then they have houses that you got to be getting to it to pay for it.
Got to pay a mill to live on
Yeah,
a,
like so it's really that in between is they getting rid of that. It's either low cost housing or you gotta get out. You know what I
So,
mean?
but what was interesting about this is, so I'm sitting there and we were having this conversation. I'm telling her, I'm like, yo, we about to have a city full of renters. We about to turn it into New York or even Boston for that matter. When you look at Boston's numbers, it's crazy, crazy
Same
expensive.
thing.
I was like, that's what Philly's getting ready to turn into. Then I came, and it's funny because I had another conversation. I had a conversation for a couple hours with Diamond Dave day before yesterday. We was chopping it up, and he was telling me about what's going on down there in Florida, and it's kind of the same thing. I was like, bro, it's amazing, like going through this pandemic and coming out of it, the prices of some of these properties. So we're about to see a huge shift, and I was like, it's about to be a huge, like, just renters market for people that look like us. Then I came across an article today that says, yo, you can't even rent. Anybody making minimum wage or what they call an affordable wage these days, right? Can't afford to even rent in the average city. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy right now. So matter of fact, let's start the conversation with this though. Shout out to a couple other folks that pulled up. Our sister Dawn is here. Dawn, how
Here,
are
what's
you?
going on? Happy
Appreciate
Friday,
you.
Dawn. What's going
Our
on?
brother Jay A is here. Jay, what's up, beloved?
What's popping?
But let's start with this though, man. I'm gonna start with this article that I was reading on Yahoo Finance, which actually talks about it, right? So the article says renting is unaffordable to minimum wage workers in every state. In every state. So any state across the country, if you make minimum wage, but here's the craziest part about this, right? And I highlighted this because I thought this was absolutely insane. It says the federal minimum wage currently sits at $7.25 an hour, a number that has been in place since 2009. As of 2021, the minimum wage in 30 states is higher than the federal minimum. Dog, 2009. We're in 2021.
But we ain't gonna talk about what the federal minimum wage was before that. And the federal minimum wage from like 1976 to 2009 was 5.25.
Yo,
You talk about from 1977 to 2001. You talking about 45 years. The minimum wage went up $2 in 45 years.
here's what I want everybody to do. Everybody watching, do me a favor, right? When you got your first job, how much were you making per hour at your very first job? I want to see.
5.25.
You was making 5.25, Core?
5.25.
All
My
right,
mom
now.
didn't allow me to work till I was 19.
Oh, I was about to say, dog. I was out here already. I was making 4.25.
So a minimum wage it was I was making 5.20. I was making five and a quarter. I was making exact minimum wage.
Yo, I made 4.25. I worked at AMC theaters. Where's some foul that I was thinking about, right? I was
Well,
making.
I'm lying. I made more than that because I actually made more than that, right? Because I used to work at the Man Music Center parking cars, and so I
You got tips.
technically, huh?
You got
Yeah.
tips.
So technically, I was making less than minimum wage because I was making like they would just pay us $100 a night,
Mm-hmm.
but we could be out there for 12 hours or whatever. We could be out there forever. But
Listen,
I ain't gonna lie, I banged them in the head for tips.
here's
Like
my thing
that
though.
job was crazy. I
When I
was
worked
making
at
like $400 a day.
when I worked at AMC, I was out there like literally the first day. I sat in line to get my working papers. Right, that's how crazy I wanted to get this chicken. So I got out there, worked at AMC. My salary was 4.25 an hour. I made much more than that. How I did that, we're not gonna put that on camera, but you know the story, Cord. But we're gonna leave that
Yeah.
alone. But the fact of the matter is, I was making 4.25. And what's crazy in retrospect is they used to tell us stuff like, "We pay minimum wage, but you can get stock." Who can afford to get stock in a company when I'm making 4.25? What are we doing here? It was a joke. But yo, for the folks watching, I want to see what they got. So Don just bought a crib, and first of all, Don,
Congratulations, sir.
exactly. Everybody sent Don a congratulations on copping his first place, man. He says he bought his first place, and he was surprised by the amount of money it took to even get to the table. I can definitely see why people are locked out of owning homes. I'm definitely blessed to be in a position to do so. Congratulations, Don. My word of advice is, you bought you some land, hold on to that land, beloved, because it's about to be a crazy ride in this country. But congratulations on that's a major accomplishment, man. So congratulations, bro. Definitely proud of you for that, man. So Devette Anderson LLC, 5.25. Okay, so it's
That
out
was
there around the same
really-
time as you. Lance says 8.25, somewhere in there. All
Yeah.
right,
Nice.
$7 in high school. Yance, what's good?
Year
5.75 or 6, I can't remember. Ooh, yeah, that's how they do waitress. They do waitresses dirty.
damn.
But you got them tips though, so hopefully the tips took your salary up there. Torian said 5.50 at Winn Dixie. So the crazy part is, imagine like what you were making then trying to buy a property, and now the gap is even further. That's the crazy part. The gap is even further. How this conversation started is I'm working on 2 projects, and I got some appraisals done, and my appraisals came in and honestly made me laugh. These were properties that I bought a while ago and just sat on. And when I got the appraisals, I was literally laughing, and I'm like, well, how can someone afford to live around here? Like, this is the hood. We're called Buy the Hood for a reason. When I buy my properties, man, shout out to Justin at JES Investments. Justin went to look at one of my cribs to do the work on. He was like, "Oh, you really mean Buy the Hood?" I said, "Oh yeah."
And yo, like that's the same thing you said when you saw the joint that I got. You was like, "Oh, this is the."
Yo, I thought about you this morning. Pause. Yo, I was riding through the city, 21st in York, right?
Right down the street from my crib.
Dog, they build a new construction.
Yeah, because they had that land knocked down for 15 years without doing anything.
I said, I wonder if Corey they're building new construction right here.
I still got 2 houses on that block.
Bro, listen, my point is, and I know this is happening in other cities. Now, our reference point is Philadelphia because that's where we are, but it's going to get real spooky out there for the folks that don't have resources. So not just us up here talking, but everybody who's watching with us, man. That's why it's imperative that we get the word out to our people about learning how to get extra income, learning how to save, learning how to invest, just learning how to be disciplined as it pertains to money. Because the one thing that we all can agree on, this world isn't made for poor people.
At all.
This world isn't made for poor people. You look at the legislation and things that are happening now. You were just telling me about that before you came on, your perspective on what you see happening with the legislation.
Yeah. So what happened was COVID gave people a chance to sit down, and then they gave people money to sit down because they didn't know exactly how to deal with it. And so then after that, now they making all this legislation to get people back to work because people sat down and figured they saw they didn't need to go back to these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they're trying to do is force people back into these, menial jobs because the one thing the government needs control of is your time. So the 2 things they use to control your time is wages and taxes. And then the other thing is jail, right? That's their 2 main ways to control your time. They take your time away from you by, so imagine how much time you lose with the same salary, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then prices going up.
Inflation.
Right. So now every hour you work brings you back less money. They making you take a pay cut without cutting your bread. That's exactly what inflation is. It's a pay cut.
That's the secret. That's the secret to the system. That's the secret to the system because you're literally getting the whole cliche taxation without representation. That's inflation, right?
That's what inflation is, right?
Inflation is a tax. But most of us don't realize it's a tax because we can't.
Inflation is a heavy ass tax. And the thing about inflation is we don't control inflation. The government doesn't control inflation. An agency that is not a government agency controls inflation.